at the root of what we would call sins in religion, what is called overts in the tech, at the root of what we do that might be against. Now, if you're coming, now let me ask you this question. What is your religious background so I can speak the proper language?
I think I'm bleeding nation now. For for the my daughter's 33, so I started studying yeah, about 33 years ago. And now I'm just really more focused and a lot of things are coming centered to make more sense for
Okay.
me.
She, Sister Wendy and I attend the same study group on Friday
Okay.
night.
Okay. Okay. So I know which direction to go. Let's see. Let's shift gears here for just a split second. At the root of what we do, that might seem, from one standpoint, some people might call it crazy. Some language might be aberrated. What we do as adults is based on something that happened in our childhood. Okay.
Mhm.
In our teachings, and there's a lot of ARC between the teachings of Most High Elijah Muhammad and the teachings of Brother L. Ron Hubbard. But in
Mhm.
our teachings, it says, why does he fear now that he's a grown man? Because he was taught to eat the wrong food when he was a child. Okay, that comes from what's called English lesson number C1. But our lessons are written in what's called a language of formulae, meaning you can't just read it and understand it. It
Right.
takes time, and each individual, the more you go into it, the more it will reveal itself to you. So if you take that principle and you unite it, or you find ARC, affinity, reality, and communication, with what Brother L. Ron Hubbard has taught, it teaches us that the things we do now as adults, that others might, it appears to other people that they're bad habits or their mental instabilities, these are leftover traumas from our childhood.
Mhm.
Okay. And I'll give an example. Let's say you have two children that live in a house with parents, and let's say the father had a bad habit of getting intoxicated and becomes abusive. So now the children are playing in their room, and if they make too much noise, the father comes in and smacks the hell out of someone. Is that okay? So that kind of makes sense, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then the children have to learn how to communicate with one another and how to be able to play and still remain quiet so they don't disturb their father.
Right.
Okay. So you got the children that learn to talk, and they're always talking, they whisper and they talk real light. Okay. Now, those children are in an environment where they can't leave the environment, and they can't remove what's invalidating them. So
Mhm.
they live in an environment which is what you could call an ARC break. They're either being inhibited or invalidated. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So the parent is showing enforced ARC. The parent is enforcing a certain thing on the children, and they can't leave the environment. They have to find a way to live in that environment and adjust to that environment without being totally suppressed in that environment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now you fast forward those same children 20 or 30 years into the future, and you have grown adults that are very quiet, very timid. And when they speak, you can barely hear them. They say,
Mm.
speak up. Why do you speak so quietly? For them, that's the way things have always been. But what we're looking at is we're looking at an adult. Part of their psyche is still trapped in the time period and in the mindset of that child who was forced to be quiet.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so one thing L. Ron Hubbard speaks about, he speaks about what's called these four flows. Everything that takes place is based on four flows. So all of us in this room, as the crazy people that we are, we're crazy. And I say that jokingly, but but also in a serious mode, that we act the way we act because A, something that was done to us, or B, something we saw that was done between different people. And
Right.
as a result, we mimic that same behavior towards other people. And that's also the reason why we do often do things that will suppress ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So the fact that we were introduced to this tech at the time, now the Most High Elijah Muhammad said that this 20-year period would begin 1,380 years after the death of the prophet. And it would go up until 1,400 years after the death of the prophet. Well, when you do the math, the 20-year period of mind cleaning, mathematically speaking, because Prophet Muhammad passed in 632 AD, this tells us that the 20-year period of our mind being made clean started in 2012, which is the exact year that Minister Farrakhan introduced the Nation of Islam as a whole to the tech of Dianetics as taught by Brother L. Ron Hubbard.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a reason why we were given this technology. But Brother Hubbard also mentions in the creation of human ability, I want to say page 297, but I'm not 100% sure. He says the root of these teachings comes from the Asiatics. And then in Science of Survival, he speaks about 50,000 years of learning. And he said the credit goes to them, not him. So when we deal with this 50,000 years, we're going back into the ancient civilizations of ancient India, ancient Dogon, ancient Kemet. Even we probably could say we're going back as far as Atlantis, which is a real concept in a real people and a real time period in our history.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that we had to go through a certain phase in history where we had to be put to sleep. Certain things had to take place. And then by divine inspiration, L. Ron Hubbard was given something in order to wake humanity back up again.
Mm.
But the beauty of it is, if we follow the instructions that were given to us by the Most High Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we will see that if we study what we were given as, bless you, if we study what we were given here in the wilderness of North America, and then we follow the instructions given to us by the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, we will see that our teachings and the teachings of Brother L. Ron Hubbard, they blend in such a way that is so beautiful. And not only that, but if we really followed what the Most High Elijah has told us, we have been given instruction to study all of the religions and the scriptures.
Mm.
Because if we study all the religions and the scriptures, then I, as a Muslim, can sit down with a Buddhist and I can speak with the Buddhist about the Dhammapada. And if I know the language of Dianetics and I study the Dhammapada, I can talk to the Buddhist about Dianetics, but I can speak Dianetics through the language of the Buddha.
Right.
Just recently, one of the religions that I have been studying is something called Shintoism. And Shintoism is a religion that is predominantly in the origins of it are in Japan.
Mm.
And if there's certain language that's used in the religious book of the Shinto. There's a book called the Kojiki. And based on, there's a clip I was going to show, something Minister Farrakhan has taught us, that when you study scripture, scripture really is teaching us in the form of a story about processes that are taking place within us. Some of us just read scripture as just scripture, and think that this was something that just took place historically. But there's more to it than reading scripture. There's more to reading the Bible and the Dhammapada and the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads and the Kojiki and the Kitab al-Aqdas of the Baha'i and the Guru Granth Sahib of the Sikh faith. All of these stories are describing a science of the mind written in allegorical language. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes.
So if we would just expand our mind and stop being so narrow in our religious
Thank you.
pontification is a good word. I think would be good right there. It would just we stop being spiritual children and grow up. We will realize that all of the religions, wherever truth is found, that truth has one source. In the Vedas, it says that wisdom is one, but the wise know it by many names. So, in my humble opinion, in the instructions given to us by the Most High Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the goal that we have in front of us is to expand our thinking. The minister said it like this: whoever controls the diameter of your thinking controls the circumference of your activity. Well, if as Muslims, if we just study Islam and we don't study anything else, then we become very, very narrow-minded and we can't communicate with the rest of civilization.
Right.
But the 5%, their job is to teach civilization to all of the human family of the planet Earth. That is the black, brown, the red, the yellow, and the white.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't just be narrow-minded and think we're only here for black people and that's it.
Right.
We have to learn our teachings, we have to learn the tech, and we have to heal people irregardless of their race, their creed, their class, or their color. And that, to me, I mean, I could teach on this question for hours and hours. And that is why it's so important for us to follow the instructions given to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because we're being prepared for a global mission and not just a mission in our own neighborhood. It started out with us working our own neighborhood, but we have a global mission here because aberration is a global phenomenon. And now with what's taking place, it's going to spread even like a disease even faster. It's like the world is going to hell in a rocket ship right now. And it's all based on misunderstoods. It's all based on held down sevens. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Does that
yes.
answer your question?
Absolutely. Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you, brother, because it does. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
It always makes sense when I like that idea because if you're able to communicate with all people and meet them where they are and still communicate the same unifying message, then you have accomplished the job.
See, it's the same as this. Let's say everyone in this room spoke a different language. Okay. Let's say Sister Heidi spoke French, and let's say Sister Angela spoke Spanish, and let's say Sister Charlotte spoke Japanese, and let's say Brother Adam spoke Chinese. If I can say a few things and then I can switch over and say the same thing in French and then say the same thing in Japanese and say the same thing in Chinese and say the same thing, then I can communicate with everyone, even though the languages are different, because there's a way to unite. It's one single unit of truth being translated through different languages, right?
Right.
Okay. The same principle we can find in religion. Because if a person is a Buddhist, if a person is a Christian, if a person is a Hindu, if a person is a Muslim, if a person is a Baha'i, if a person is a Sikh, if someone studies Jainism, no matter what the religion is, if that religion has transformed the lives of people over the centuries, then there had to be truth involved because people don't transform based on falsehood.
Exactly.
And if they transform on truth, the truth is it's one truth, just translated in different language at different time periods based on what was needed at that time. Religion was introduced over thousands of years on a gradient scale based on the problems of that time and in specific cultures. So the way truth was presented through the Buddha, it was the same truth that was presented through what's called the Tao Te Ching of Lao Tzu, but obviously the language and the symbolism would be different.
Right.
Because the symbols are based on the symbols are based on what is found in that culture. So when you look at ancient Chinese civilization, when you look at the ancient Japanese civilization, when you look at the ancient Egyptian civilization, they had different symbolism, they had different language, they had different idioms.
Mm-hmm.
And if we get caught up, and I'll prove this mathematically, but if we get caught up in the differences, then we do ourselves a disservice. Now, here's where I'm going to prove this. One of the main things I like to use is mathematics. And one of the reasons why is because mathematics is very objective. Minister Farrakhan said that's why they're called numbers, because they're numb. They have no feeling. There's no emotion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I say, let me write this down. If I say 5 plus x equals 7, then x equals what? Anyone can answer.
2.
Okay. If I say 5 plus x equals 7, x has to equal 2.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, if I say 3 plus y equals 5, what does y equal?
2.
Okay. Now, based on the law of substitution in mathematics and algebra, I can substitute the x and the y, and I can say 5 plus y equals 7, and 3 plus x equals 5, can I?
Yes.
Because really, x and y, they both equal 2, right?
Right.
But if I just say to you, if I just put on a board x equals y, someone whose mind is superficial will say x can't be y because they're both two different letters. That's because we're on the surface. But if we understand that they both have the same quantitative value, then x, even though it's different than y, it actually has the same value, doesn't it?
Right.
So if we understand that, then when we look in the Holy Quran, where it talks about the purified ones,
Mm-hmm.
and then we look at the word clear in Scientology, and if we understand the word purified in Arabic means kalasa, and if we clear the word kalasa in an Arabic dictionary, kalasa also means to be clear. So everywhere in the Holy Quran where it says you'll get all of those except my purified ones, through the law of substitution in mathematics, we could say you'll get all of those except my clear ones. Couldn't we say that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the Bhagavad Gita is a story about Arjuna who was about to go to war. He's in the chariot with Krishna. And this is all metaphorical language. And he's talking to God really within himself about going through this war. And I could get into this in depth, but the main thing I want us to understand is that if you go into the language that the Hindus speak, and you look at the word Arjuna, guess what Arjuna means in I can't understand, I can't remember the name. It might be Hindi. I think it's the name of the language. I could be wrong. But guess what the word Arjuna means in that language? It means
What?
the one who is clear.
Arjuna.
So we're arguing and we have misunderstandings because we're not studying.
Mm.
And if we clear our words, not only English words, but if we go into Japanese and Chinese and Spanish and French, we will see that we're all really, when you get into the religious books of all the different religions, you're really saying the same thing. We're just using different symbolism. I came across something in the Kojiki of Shintoism, and I'm gonna read this to us. And I want you to tell me, what does this sound like to you? Okay. Now watch this. I'm gonna read this.
Okay.
Listen to it with your metaphorical ear. and see if you hear something here. In the Kojiki, there's a myth about the sun goddess called Amaterasu. Her name is Amaterasu, and it says that she hid in a cave after being offended by the storm god Sasasano, which plunged the world into darkness. And then the other gods lured her out, restoring light, which symbolizes order overcoming chaos. What does that sound like metaphor?
Someone's coming through a storm.
She was hiding in a cave after being offended by the storm god, which plunged the world into darkness.
Could it be us being in the darkness for 6,000 years and then we finally woke up?
Sounds like he bliss.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes. All that is true, but that just proves my point. Now connect that story with Dianetics. Use that story as a demo kit to understand Dianetics. Okay. The sun goddess, this is my interpretation, represented the analytical mind, which after being offended, which we can call an ARC break or re-stimulation, right? Hid in a cave, the reactive mind, yes. Because what happens to us after we're offended? Don't we get re-stimulated?
Yes.
Doesn't that plunge the world into darkness? Aberration?
Yes.
Okay. Now, who are these other gods that lured out? Could they be auditors who restored the light? Present time? Are the principles, are these principles equivalent? Do they sound like they could be equivalent?
Yeah, when you break them down.
Okay, and the point I'm trying to make is, it goes along the lines of what Minister Farrakhan has taught us, that when we read these ancient stories, these stories are allegory, the metaphors and allegories and similes, but really throughout time, one of the main concepts of man has been, how can he reconnect to that force and power that exists within himself? And that's really what religion has been about for thousands of years. But over time, God has been made something that's external, which is why we can never get to him. And our lessons say, who's that mystery God? It says there is not a mystery God. The original man had searched for that mystery God for trillions of years and have not found him. So we decided that that mystery God don't exist. So we lose no time searching for that doesn't exist. So that means what? We represent the God that we're looking for is the force and power that exists within ourselves.
Right.
We say a lot in the person of. Scientology says the seventh and the eighth dynamic. We say God and self, they say OT, operating theory. On one level, we're really saying the same thing, we're just using different language. But now when we understand the continuity of that thread of truth, I can sit down with a Buddhist. The Most High Muhammad said, when you give a baby a bottle, put some Islam in it. That's a formula. That means, and this happened to me once, when I was in one of the prisons in New York State, and I was working as a chaplain. And I was waiting for one of the representatives from the Nation of Islam to get to the chapel area, and I was talking to a Buddhist. And I love Buddhism because it parallels Islam so well. When you understand the Four Noble Truths in the Eightfold Path, that's Dianetics, that's Scientology, that's L. Ron Hubbard said the Buddhist is the second, I think he said the second cousin to the Scientologist.
Oh, okay.
I was speaking to the Buddhist about the Four Noble Truths. And then when the brother came to the room, he said, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Minister. I said, wa alaikum salam. And the Buddhist said, you're a Muslim. I said, yes, sir. He said, I thought you were a Buddhist. I said, well, I am if you understand it.
Right.
I don't get caught up in the title because I know there's only one truth that exists. It's just we have to learn how to switch our language. If I sit with a Christian, we can teach a Christian Dianetics within 15 minutes by using the Bible. But we have to study the Bible.
Right.
But ultimately, the main foundation that I use in teaching is based on what's called proof theory in mathematics, meaning I study something from the standpoint of mathematics, from the standpoint of what's called proof theory, because I like writing mathematical proofs. And if I can tie things together based on what the minister has said, then I know that that proof will be considered what's called valid, or not valid, but it is a sound argument.
Okay.
But we have to get out of this thought of only studying Islam. The sad part is some of us ain't even studying our own Islam. And then when someone presents something, we say, well, that's, I don't agree with that. We really don't have anything to stand on except emotion. Because before you can say you understand something, you have to first understand what you believe in and then at least make the attempt to try to understand what you say you don't understand. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see who has made it in here. Sister Diane, assalamu alaikum.
Sister
Alaikum
Peggy.
salam. Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem, how are you?
I'm doing well by Allah's grace and mercy. On my way to work, so I'm going to be just listening. I apologize.
All right, we'll make sure we travel safe. Are you driving?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I am, sir.
All right. Sister Anya, assalamu alaikum. If you can hear us. If not, there you go.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
Good, sir. Praise the Lord.
All right. How's my big brother doing?
Fine. Praise Allah.
All right. And Sister Tina, or as we know her as this Tona.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for changing it.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and Ramadan Mubarak and happy Savior's Day, family.
I'm Kareem. All right, family. Any other questions before we go into our discussion? Questions, questions, questions. I love questions. If not,
Not necessarily a question, but
okay.
the analogy the demo kit that you pulled out of the Quran was very helpful to me because yesterday, I think it was Surah 27 in section 2, and there were some ayats in there regarding one of the gods worshiping the sun. And when you said that, it just brought that back to me to be able to use ayat verses as demo kits a little better. So thank you.
Thank you to Allah. The demo kit in Scientology it's interesting because when you and I haven't completed the student hat, but I did start it. COVID kind of messed things up with that. But when you study the student hat, the study tech, which is and I'm gonna tell you, with all my years, going to college and whatnot, the student hat, the study tech is I wish I had that in college. I really wish I had that in college. That is the baddest thing on the planet, or one of the baddest things on the planet with regards to learning how to study. When you go through that student hat, one of the main things is, understanding your words and the use of what's called a demo kit. The demo kit is you're using math to understand the concept. Now, one of the things you learn with the use of the student hat is he says if you can't sketch a concept, then you don't understand it. So you can sketch or draw a concept, or you can make, and they call it the clay table demo, right? You can sculpt something in 3 dimensions. Yes. Everyone's heard that before, correct? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Now,
sir.
here's an interesting thing. The demo kit deals with sketching and sculpting. interesting in Arabic, the English word parable in Arabic is mathala, mathala. And mathala also means to represent something in 2 or 3 dimensions or to sculpt. So the demo kit of Scientology is the parable of the Holy Quran. It's both saying the same thing. Just a
Yes.
team.
Yes, sir. Brother Lukeman, you said any questions? I'm just asking, did you ever find out about the 4 flows and the way it is in the Dianetics and Scientology
I
dictionary?
sure haven't. I haven't been back to the org because I've been traveling back and forth. But now that I'm here, I will make sure I get the stable datum on that concept.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
The proper way to understand those 4 flows in the proper order. I will definitely get that. I'm hoping to be back in the org sometime this week. So I
Okay.
can, because I want to finish my SRD because I got a lot of craziness. I'm trying to get out of here. I'm trying to go clear.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sister Deborah, assalamu alaikum. Can you hear Sister Deborah?
Okay, can you hear me?
You might
Can you hear me?
very, very faintly.
Okay. What about
Oh,
now?
I can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Happy Savior's Day.
Happy Savior's Day.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem. All right. Any other questions? All right. So this concept came about because I'm reading a book right now called The Body Keeps the Score. Okay. This is what the book looks like for those that.
Oh
Is
my
anyone?
God, you're reading that too?
Yes, ma'am. I am
Oh
reading this
my
too.
goodness. I have the book. I have it right here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was just like, oh my goodness.
Yep. Well, someone's tone just went up. There's so much in this book. I mean, this is a good book to read, in my humble opinion, that helps to explain using modern language the tech of Dianetics. And this is why I believe, I could be wrong, and I'm not trying to say this to take away anyone's study or research, but sometimes I'm thinking that individuals have plagiarized L. Ron Hubbard because there's, or they have just come to the same conclusions in modern time. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Everyone follow that? Okay.
yes, sir.
But Sister Diane, how far into the book have you gotten?
I just got the book and I've studied some of it. I just started the first chapter of it.
Mhm.
And so far, I like this book. And as a matter of fact, I'm also reading an audiobook, something called Do Not Believe in Your Thinking. Um, what's his name? Um, what's it? Da, 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 da. Yes, don't believe everything you think.
Mhm.
And this is from Joseph Wynn.
Mhm. So I'm almost tempted. I'm almost tempted to start, and I haven't really come to a conclusion yet. I'm almost tempted to start a Zoom meeting where we just study this book. That's how good this book is. But I was reading this one chapter. It's on page 64, and he talks about the rider and the horse. And I read the first paragraph, and of course my brain starts to go off on these tangents. And he says here, he says these words. Now this book is by Bessel van Venderkolk. He's a doctor. He says, it's called The Rider and the Horse, page 64. He says, for now I want to emphasize that emotion is not opposed to reason. Our emotions assign value to experience and thus are the foundation of reason. Our self-experience is the product of the balance between our rational and our emotional brains. When these two systems are in balance, we feel like ourselves. However, when our survival is at stake, these systems can function relatively independently. So me, I'm always thinking along the lines of mathematics. So in equation, you have a mathematical expression on one side, you have an equal sign, and then you have a mathematical expression on the other. And that's what an equation is. An equation is a union of two mathematical expressions. Does that make sense? Everyone follow that? Okay.
Yes.
I was about to say, go ahead, Sister Wendy. Go ahead, Sister Peggy.
Go, Sister Wendy.
Oh, when you mentioned that, I'm reading that book.
Okay.
My therapist suggested that book,
Mhm.
and it made me look at mental health completely different. I don't know how far you've gotten, but it never dawned on me, like in the psychiatric units, when I think he described like wrestling a patient down,
Yep.
it could be contributing to,
The invalidation.
yes. And I said, wow. And just that I was just excited to hear that book, because that book was like, wow, for me.
Mhm.
And
I'm up to
another
chapter
thing,
7 myself.
oh well, you really down in it.
I can't put it down.
I was really, and another thing for me that stood out was that he had the courage to go against what he was being taught.
Mhm.
You know, when they were, when they were he was a student, and what he was doing was being a critical thinker, and said, what if, and I love that part about him too.
Mhm.
But anyways, I'm sorry, I
No,
was
it's
just,
okay. That's what this Zoom is for. That way, everyone's here's the important thing. Everyone's comments are important. Everyone's cognitions are important because the cognition that you have might be the solution to someone else's dilemma.
right.
God can speak through each one of us to provide a solution for any one of us. So no one's opinions or cognitions are stifled. That's why I don't mind questions and I don't mind cognitions. Okay. But here's where I'm going with this. When I saw the horse and the rider, and I thought about the words of the minister, and I'm gonna play the clip. I like that way we have in Scientology we don't use verbal, I think it's called verbal data or verbal tech. I'm gonna play a clip of the minister. He's gonna say, the clip is maybe a minute long, but what he says is so key. And then I'm gonna, with the help of God, I'm gonna strive to connect the dots of what I read in this book, the tech of Dianetics, and the Bible, and have us look at the Bible in a way perhaps that we've never looked at it before. Does that make sense? Everyone okay? All right. Let me play this clip. It should be already set up. Can everybody see my screen? Can everybody see my screen? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I keep hungry long enough, the urge is going to overpower the moral law, and I will kill it. Then the urge, unsatisfied, led me to do something against the law of God. You see that? Yes. Now, in the urge, there's a voice and there's a counter voice. This is all natural. Ain't got nothing to do with Bible or Quran. But what happens is what God has so wonderfully done through the prophets, he took the drama that is played out on the inside of your bodies and he gives them names and character. And he gives it a drama and plays it out in the stories of the Bible. But you can't read the story and say, oh, I'm reading Cain and Abel. Oh, there's some cat named Cain hitting his brother named Abel. But you are not able to look inside and see how that drama is played out. I'd like to show you an example of Cain and Abel inside the South.
Okay. Now, did we follow what he just said there? Did we
Yes,
follow that?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So basically what he's saying is, a quick summary, what he said is, when you look at what's taking place within us, what takes place within us are a representation of the scriptures. The scriptures are stories that represent dramas, and they have characters, correct? Right? Y'all follow me? Okay. I mean, no one, hardly anyone's on camera, so I got to go based on what I'm hearing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So those characters that are in the scriptures and what's taking place between the characters, those stories represent processes that are taking place within ourselves. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Now, if you hold on to that thought, then if we study the scriptures, we will see how they align perfectly with what Brother Hubbard has taught. The scriptures are dramas with characters, but L. Ron Hubbard didn't necessarily use the language of scripture. He used the language of quantum physics and mathematics. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay, so he explained spiritual principles through the language of mathematics and science. Okay, now, here's why we should be very aware of our cognitions, the thoughts that come to us. I walk around with a notepad every day. This doesn't leave my side.
Okay.
Because I believe that Allah God gives us assignments every day. He plants an idea in our mind, and it's the answer to a prayer, but we have to do the work to find the answer, and therefore we become a part of our own solution. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I'm saying all that to say this. As I'm reading this, and I see the horse and the rider, the thought that comes to my mind is this. Let me see if I can find my exact notes. I keep a notepad next to my bed. So in the morning, sometimes that's when the best ideas come forward. Okay. The thought that came to my mind was, now we're all familiar with the four horsemen of the apocalypse, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It has been my thought for quite some time that the book of Revelations is describing what's taking place in the aberrated mind in the language of allegory. So there's an apocalypse that's taking place outwardly, right?
Mm-hmm.
But whatever takes place outwardly isn't a manifestation of what's taking place inwardly.
Yes, sir.
So then the thought came to my mind, what if the four horsemen of the apocalypse represents a demo kit for the tone scale? What if the four horsemen represent aspects of the tone scale? What if the seals that are lifted and the horsemen that manifest represent a downward spiral on the tone scale? Does everyone follow that logic?
Following.
Okay. So let's look at it. Let's look at it. It's Revelations chapter 6. And it says, And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder. One of the four beasts saying, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Now, there's different ways we could look at this. But when you have a person that has a bow and a crown, now remember, this person is not God, but this person has a bow, has a crown. And it said he went forth conquering. What type of person could we say has a crown? Meaning he might see himself as a king and goes out conquering.
White folk.
Well, not just white folk. I want us to look at this from the perspective of self. Because if we really look at the restrictive law, and if we look at the guiding rules of conduct, none of us are 100% on the law, are we?
Would that be the suppressive personality?
Okay, we could say that could be a suppressive person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what has the minister said about devils?
They do things that harm themselves.
Okay.
And Satan is the one that does things to harm everybody else.
Has he mentioned anything about black devils, brown devils, red devils, yellow devils,
All
and white
devils.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Remember, devilishment is a teaching.
Mm-hmm.
But based on our lesson, it says Yakub was what? He was the father of the devil. So all of us have some devil, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now when you look at the white horse, the bow, and the crown, and so can we say that that could represent someone who has an ego problem?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Would that make sense? False
Mm-hmm.
pride, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay. What does the scripture say about pride?
Goeth before destruction.
Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty heart before a fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where can we place that on the tone scale?
Anger.
Say what, Brother Tawanda?
Anger.
Okay, we could go there. We can go there. I think if we go specifically, who has a real good grasp of the tone scale? I mean, because I know 2.0 down to 1.1 is where you have overt hostility, antagonism, and covert hostility. Where is pride located? Is that like 1.8 or something like that?
I'm not sure, sir.
Can someone look that up real quick? If someone has access to maybe Scientology, the Book of Basics, or because I know the Book of Basics has a real good gradient of the tone scale. I believe it's 1.8, but we can say that it's in that realm of hostility and antagonism. Correct, Brother Tawanda?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when someone has pride, how do they operate?
Haughty.
They're haughty. They're arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, none of us know anyone in government. We don't know anyone in government that satisfies that concept.
I think President Trump is a living example of that.
Okay. And that's why, thus, the fall of America. Now, so can we say that the white horse with the crown could represent pride? And can we say that's at the top of the tone scale? Can we say that?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then it says, verse number 3, and when he had opened the second seal, Brother Tawanda, you came in a little bit late, but I know you're way over in London right now. What we're doing is we are comparing the four horsemen of the apocalypse on and comparing it to different levels on the tone scale.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Beautiful.
And
Thank
it's based, this is not based because Brother Lukeman is so wise. It's based on something the minister said. And the minister told us, whoever controls the diameter of your thinking controls the circumference of your activity. And so if we listen to the minister does what? He expands the diameter of our thinking, right?
Definitely. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So the minister's words are, when you study scripture, these scriptures represent dramas and stories that represent processes that are taking place within us. So in other words, and one day, God willing, I might actually complete this whole assignment. When I look at the book of Revelations and where it talks about, specifically, it talks about, and the beast came from the pit, out from the pit, and the smoke came and all that other stuff. I believe the book of Revelations on one level could be describing in the form of metaphor the whole process of aberration.
Yes,
I
sir.
believe Revelation is talking about a whole lot of mess that's taking place within the mind of an individual who has lost it. But that's just my opinion. Then it
Yes,
says,
sir.
and when he opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Now, what level on the tone scale are we talking about now? Could that be anger? Hostility?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're still in the realm of 2.0 to 1.1, right?
Yes.
Okay. But as you notice, pride comes first. Now we're dropping down to anger. What's happening? We're on what's called a downward spiral, aren't we? We're moving down the tone scale. But we're looking at it from a metaphor level based on biblical language. So if we understand the concept of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, we could explain tone scale to someone who might be Christian. Because we're learning
Right.
both languages, aren't we?
Yes,
So
sir.
we have friends or family, let's say we're Christian, and we have friends or family, I'm not missing that Dianetic stuff. I've been in the church all my life. You say, well, how about let's talk about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. First thing, a lot of Christians don't like talking about Revelation. And I'm saying that from experience, because as soon as you talk about Revelations and the mark of the beast and 666 and all that other, people get all crazy. Why? Because there's so many movies that are out, and that's part of how they market keeping us scared, or in the language of the text, that's how they keep us suppressed. 666 is scary. It's just a number. Okay. But these beasts and demons and devils that are spoken of in Revelations, they can represent outward individuals. But if the outward individuals are acting in a certain way, could we not say that the concepts of Revelation and the beast, we could say that this is all taking place within them in order for them to manifest what's in them has to come out, right?
Yes, sir.
So if they're manifesting outward devilishment, then there's some devilishment taking place inside, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sister Wendy.
Yes, I just thought this. So, do you think that Dianetics could cure a narcissistic person?
Yes. But they have to be what's called accessible. They have to be so when you deal in Dianetics, a person has to be accessible. The way that same concept is explained in the Holy Quran, and let me get the exact quote. Let me get the exact quote. I'm just gonna look up my Quran real quick.
And while you're looking, and I'll tell you why I asked it, it's because I start digging in, going down the black hole about the narcissistic person, and everywhere they said they can't be cured, but yet it's a they say the origin is it's a spiritual, it's a spirit, and or a demonic spirit. And I said, but I'm saying in my mind that if God is God, if Allah is Allah, then why are we saying they can't be cured? But
Okay.
then I raised the question as I listened more about Dianetics. Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So,
I'm
so
sorry.
everyone, in order for a person to be cured, so we say, it's of the spirit. A person has to be accessible.
Okay.
The Holy Quran says it like this, and it would take too much time trying to find the Holy Quran. But all of us that have read the Holy Quran might remember this ayah. It says, "Those that will hear are those that would listen." You've seen that in the Holy Quran before, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So what it's saying is that same ayah, those that will hear the word are those that will listen. That is synonymous with someone being accessible.
Mm.
Okay, so some people might say, "Look, I don't know about that stuff, but okay, explain it to me. I'm willing to listen to learn, and then I'll make my own assessment." That person is accessible. At
Okay.
least they're willing to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
But on the flip side, in Surah 2, section number 2, it says uh, first it says, "In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful." Then it says, it talks about the fundamentals of the religion. Believe in the unseen, keep up prayer, spend out of what you have given them, believe in that which has been revealed to thee, that which was before thee, and of the hereafter they are sure. These are the right course from the Lord, and these it is that are successful. Then it says, those who disbelieve, it being alike to them whether thou warn them or warn them not, they will not believe.
Mm.
Allah has sealed their hearts and their hearing, and there's a covering on their eyes, and for them is a grievous chastisement. That is synonymous with someone who is not accessible.
Okay.
So when you look at in the Holy Quran, it says Allah has sealed their hearts and their hearing, and there's a covering on their eyes. That translates to Vizio shut off, sonic shut off, right? Can't hear, you
Right.
can't see. There's
Right.
some individuals, no matter what you say, they don't want to hear it. What
Yeah.
happens? They are not accessible.
Right.
And if
Right.
Allah has sealed their hearts, and if Allah has sealed their hearing, and if Allah has covered their eyes, we will not be able to remove those seals.
Okay. All right.
Okay. But I believe everyone, because in our teaching it said this, and can you reform devil? Our lessons say no, but it says the prophets have tried to reform him, and they say that it cannot be done. But that's because the prophets don't have what it takes to remove devil, but God does.
Okay.
So all people, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, have the ability to have their reactive mind removed, because the reactive mind is the root. That's the root of our devilishment, isn't it? And that's
100%.
why Master Farad Muhammad came. And that's why some of us believe that there was a meeting between Master Farad Muhammad and Brother L. Ron Hubbard. And there is a book that I'm trying to get my hands on, this book, and find the exact quote. But there's a sister who said that she read the book. She just can't remember where in the book she found this. But it said that L. Ron Hubbard came in contact with a stranger, and the stranger is not named. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't read it myself. However, because I do see so much similarity, and I say this not in a way to brag, but in completing all the books, there's 19 books and there's 14 lectures. And all throughout that, I saw the lessons of the Most High Elijah Muhammad. It looked as though someone had access to those lessons, studied those lessons, and then took the principles from the lessons and put it into the fine language that they knew. Now, Brother Robert, may Allah be pleased with him. He spent a lot of time in Flag, and he had a lot of contact with individuals that were up at the upper OT levels. And he said that and part of this I know because I've heard L. Ron Hubbard speak about this, but he mentioned L. Ron Hubbard now this is based on what he said, that when L. Ron Hubbard was in the Navy, he was part of naval intelligence. So when our lessons were confiscated in the 40s, it is possible that L. Ron Hubbard had access to those lessons. Now, this part is factual because this is part of what L. Ron Hubbard speaks about in some of his lectures. And this was in, I think it was in the Western Congress, if I'm not mistaken. At a certain time, he found something, but he didn't want to reveal it to the naval and to the Navy because he knew they would use it for wrong. Okay. He was part of that group based on what I've heard through his lectures. He was part of that group with Oppenheimer and them, with the whole nuclear history, but he didn't want any part of what they were going to do with that, the damage they were going to do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. So he found something, and the naval, his superiors were going to force him to disclose what he found. And his words were that he gave up his commission so that when they came back to try to force him to disclose, he was not obligated because he gave up his commission, and that's when he went to England and what's it called? What's the org that's in England? Sister Peggy.
St. Hill.
Thank you. He went to England. He did not want to disclose because he knew they would use it for negative reasons. Okay. There I go flying off on them tangents again. Anyway, there was, I believe, a meeting. I believe, because there's too many similarities. I can't, if I had $1 for every time L. Ron Hubbard spoke about the time track in 76 trillion years, I'd have good money because he refers to that 76 trillion years multiple times in the text. And we know in the teaching of Most High Elijah Muhammad, we know that God created himself from triple darkness 76 trillion years ago. So we have agreement with this 76 trillion years in our history. Go ahead, Sister Angela.
From taking very light lessons of agriculture, learning the difference in soils and what purifies soils, can you imagine dropping a seed in a scientific or a scientist's soil and how it would germinate?
Of course. Yes,
How many branches? So what sealed it for me before I knew any of you, before I even went and took the course, is when I seen the word emphatical in the book.
Mhm.
Is in the early part of the book, Dianetics. And so when I seen that word, I stopped at it. I went back to to put it in context and read it again. I said, this is the second place that I saw this word. I've never seen it outside of the nation.
Mhm.
Ever.
What was that
So
word again?
emphatical.
Okay.
He uses it in the book 1.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister Angela.
Yes, sir.
All right. And I don't think it's a coincidence when you look at aberration and if you look at in our lessons, savage means a person that has lost the knowledge of himself and is living a beast life. That's what our lessons say, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So a person that's lost the knowledge of himself in our language is translated into someone who is out of valence in the language of Dianetics, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
And someone who's living a beast life in our language, could that be equivalent to someone who's dramatizing?
Yes, sir.
Interesting you say it though, because I'm seeing something else, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sometimes when we are living a certain way, no matter what religious background or organization we belong to, especially if there are certain standards to adhere to,
Mhm.
I think those standards kind of blocks. It's like putting blinders on a horse. It's hard to see the savage within. when you are already into something that is above standard in society. I think it's like the rich man trying to get into heaven. He said a camel can get through the eye of a needle faster than a man, and can a camel get through the eye of a needle faster than we can see the savage within?
Yes, ma'am. Now, how would we say that in the text? That's called justification, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I
Overt,
mean, yeah.
overt withholds and miswithholds. What's the root of that? Justification. Well, he did it to me, so I can do it back, right?
Exactly.
So we're saying the same thing. They say justification in the church. We say deceptive intelligence. Saying the same thing, different language. We have to be, I don't want to say, we could either say multilingual or polylingual with regards to religion. If we understand different religions, then we can communicate the text to anybody. Because the text really, when you understand the different scriptures, Most High Elijah Muhammad said, if you want to teach that your religion is true and right, you have to study all religions in their scripture. Then our assignment as the students of the Most High Elijah Muhammad, under the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, if we're going to become a universal and global aspect of healing, we should not expect everyone to reform to our belief, but we find everyone where they are so we can help them be better at what they already believe in, right?
Yes, sir.
So if I come in contact with a Hindu, I don't try to teach them the supreme wisdom lessons. I say, let's sit down and talk. Let's talk about the Bhagavad Gita. And as we talk about the Bhagavad Gita, I'm throwing a little Dianetics in there. Right? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so we have the white horse, we have the red horse. We're still in the tone scale, right? Then it says, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So when you look at the pale horse, the black horse, we're talking about scarcity. Now, when things become scarce, we could say that could represent emotional deprivation. Where on the tone scale are we? Could that be because when things get scarce, would that be considered anxiety?
Oh,
Oh
absolutely.
Allah, I seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. But what is anxiety? Anxiety is being worried about a future that has not even come to pass yet. Yeah. Some of us, maybe all of us, are working from paycheck to paycheck. So sometimes we get some anxiety, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Some of us have to rob Peter to pay Paul, correct? So when we're going through scarcity, can we say that we're we're riding the black horse? Where does anxiety fall on the tone scale? Isn't that like 1 point between 1.0 and 0.5? Everyone follow? Yes?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So we just did white horse, red horse, and black horse, and it lines up perfectly with going down the tone scale. But now once your pride goeth before destruction and a haughty heart before a fall, then you come down into anger. Now when you deal with anger, if you remember the chart that's given in Science of Survival, each of these emotional tone levels are equivalent to certain physical disorders. I think anger was connected to arthritis, wasn't it?
I don't recall, sir.
I'm trying to do it off the top of my head, but I think anger had to deal with illnesses that deal with accumulation, like rheumatoid arthritis, and then other parts dealt with neurological and endocrine disorder. So when we have problems with we have neurological problems, and we have endocrine problems. A good book, some good books to read are The Myth of Normal, Dr. Gabor Mate. Another book to read is called Deadly Emotion. I can't remember the name of the author. Deadly Emotion. And both of these books, and the book I'm talking about now, The Body Keeps the Score, all these books are, well, The Myth of Normal and Deadly Emotions more so. I can't say it for this book yet because I haven't finished it yet. But those two books speak in so many areas the connection between the emotions when you look at it from the level of the tone scale, 2.0 down to 0.5, and how those emotional states produce the sicknesses that we suffer from. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
In other words, our thoughts. There's a book in on the bridge, Thought, Emotion, and Effort, right?
Yes.
Our thoughts produce chemistry, don't they?
Yes.
Thought produces, the thought interacts with the limbic system. You have what's called the HPA axis, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenals. Our thoughts, when we get frustrated, Don Colbert, thank you, Sister Heidi. Our stress levels produce chemistry called hormones, neurotransmitters. Another good book is called Molecules of Emotion by Dr. Candace Pert, P-E-R-T. And the wrong thoughts translate into stress hormones, and those stress hormones cause endocrine imbalances, and that's what produces sickness. Our sicknesses are a sign that there's an imbalance in our spirit. That's what Dianetics is all about, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you look at the sicknesses described in the problem book, problem number 1, 2, 5, and 6, the first uncle, the wife, the second uncle, all those, 99% of those illnesses you will find on page 65 of Dianetics. And L. Ron Hubbard is describing all those illnesses in our problem book as psychosomatic.
Wow.
And we can take one problem and prove it. I'll do this real quick, and then we'll go to Sister Wendy, and then we'll get back here. But if you look at problem number 1, problem number 1 says the uncle of W.D. Freud lived in the wilderness of North America, and he lived other than his own self. Therefore, his pulse beat at 78 beats per minute. This killed him at 45 years of age. How many times did his pulse beat? 45 years. Now, the instructions to the problem book say that these problems will teach us about our miserable condition in a mathematical way, correct? Now, we can solve how many times his heart beat in 45 years. It's not going to be accurate because in 45 years, your heart doesn't beat 75 beats per minute. That's not how the heart works. And if we did solve that mathematically, we still couldn't solve the problem of why his heart was beating and why it was killing him at the age of 45. However, if you look at the first part of that question, or the first part of that problem, it says he lived in the wilderness of North America and he lived other than his own self. Therefore, so here you have an implication. You have cause and effect. He's in the wilderness of North America and he lives other than himself, and this is causing this problem in his body. It's causing a problem with his heart. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So when you have lived in the wilderness of North America and he lives other than his own self, in what's called propositional logic, that's called a conjunction. That's an and statement. And for an and statement to be true, both propositions have to be true. But that tells us if we want to solve the problem of his heartbeat, 78 beats per minute, if we want to solve the problem of him dying at the age of 45, we either have to take him out of the wilderness of North America or we have to teach him a knowledge of stuff. So how do you solve the problem of the first uncle? We can't remove him from the wilderness of North America just yet, but we can teach him a knowledge of self. So based on the logic, he can live in the wilderness of North America But if we teach him the knowledge of self, then his pulse won't beat 78 beats per minute, and it won't kill him at the age of 45. That means the way to solve problem number one, in my humble opinion, is now if you get him out of the wilderness in North America, isn't that a change of environment?
That's right.
Isn't that one of the four valid processing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, change of environment. Number one. Number two, if you can't change the environment, you give him a knowledge of himself. So therefore he can what? He can be in the world, but not of it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that's how I would look at solving problem number one. That's how we can fix the problem of the first uncle. Change his environment or give him a knowledge of self. Make sense, family?
Yes, sir.
All right, Sister Wendy and then Brother Tawanda. Sister Wendy, you're on mute.
I guess I'm gonna back up to make sure I'm understanding. Did you say like anxiety and anger affects or impacts I guess the development of neurology
Yes.
neurology diseases? Is that what you said?
Right. Here's the same explanation, but along the lines of neuroscience. Every time, Sister Wendy, every time you've experienced a stressful situation in your life, from this point going back to the time when you were a child, every stressful event caused your body to produce a chemical called cortisol, and it produced a chemical called adrenocorticotropic hormone, which is abbreviated ACTH. It's a stress hormone. So from this point going back, now I'm not going to ask you what your age is, but I'll use myself as an example. Okay. I'm starting to creep towards 60. But when you look at from this point going backwards in my life,
Makes a lot of sense for me.
okay, so when you go back in time, we don't start suffering from illnesses at the age of 40, 50, and 60 based on what happened at 40, 50, and 60. I'm going to use this principle. Now follow along with me. When you come across, and you're doing your reading and you come across that misunderstood, and that Scientologist comes to you and say, you have misunderstood? That misunderstood is not there. The problem started a couple of pages back, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Same principle applies, because really, if you understand, our body is a book, and our activity, intentions, and emotion is doing the writing. So when we have sicknesses now at our age, which could be 40 or 50 or 60, is not based on something that happened last year. It's the accumulation of things that have taken place over past 20, 30, or 40 years. Now,
And I don't mean to interrupt you.
no,
I'm
go ahead.
just
Go ahead.
fascinated because like currently I'm dealing with an aneurysm
Okay.
and a brain aneurysm, and then I went in and did they looked in to see what we're going to do, and they found others, and one of them is very, very peculiar. It has two heads on it, and I kept asking, the doctor, like, where does this come from? What is, and he said, you smoke? No. You drink? No. And all these things. It's like, no, 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 no. So that's why my bells and whistles went off, because what you're saying makes sense for me, because I suffer from chronic anxiety, PTSD, and I am angry like almost 24/7, and it developed for me after spending time in prison. Um, and it just, when you said that, it just it made sense. What do you
Okay.
call that? Something that just like ding. Okay.
So here's one of the first things I'm going to recommend. Well, let's look at it without getting into it. I'm going to say some things, and I want you to hear. How can I put this? Well, let's just this is what I just wrote for just a minute. Western doctor is not going to be able to pinpoint it. Western doctor, and I know all Western doctors don't follow this principle. There are some doctors that have ethics, but there are others that believe everything is solved with a scalpel and surgery because that's where the money is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but now let's walk down this road for a minute. This might answer some other things in your mind. Over time, this ACTH, this stress hormone, accumulates. Now, here's the reason why I'm so big on this concept. My background, and again, I'm not saying this for everyone. I mean, it's not, a Luke Mon show like that. I'm just trying to show you that I have a background in chemistry. I don't believe everything I read. And when I first got involved in Dianetics, I said, well, this sounds good, but I just don't take everything hook, line, and sinker. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked for years as a paramedic. I went to school for paramedicine. So if this tech was true, there had to be a biological or neurological, there had to be some reason why it worked. Things don't work just because someone says it, they do. There has to be a mathematical, neurological, chemical reason why it works. So as I studied the tech back in 2011, 2012, I also put my mind to study it from the perspective of chemistry, neurobiology, and from the standpoint of what's called endocrinology, because those are some of the things we had to study in paramedic school.
Mm-hmm.
And the research I did, just reading medical documents, what I studied proved the tech to be legitimate. So when people say the tech is not, that's garbage, I just understand those are people that just have not studied. Because this is what I was able to find. When ACTH, this stress hormone, when it accumulates over time, it begins to degrade and damage the immune system. Now, 20 years working the fire service, I'll explain it like this. Stress is to the body as fire is to a building. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So studying fire science for 20 years and understanding the principles of fire science, I can tell you that studying the fire and the way it moves through a building is exactly the way the aberration moves through the human mind. Same principles. So your anxiety, now I'm going to say some things. Take notes. Cognitions are going to come to your mind, and I want you to write down. I don't want you to just disclose anything. This is specifically for you to write down, and then there's going to be some instructions I'm going to give you for the next part of your journey. Okay. The anxiety is a fire that was started by someone else. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, what happens is when you go through auditing, guess how you get ACTH out of the body, Sister Wendy?
How?
Huh?
How?
ACTH is removed from the body through tears. There have been studies that show that tears of grief have a different chemistry than tears of happiness. So this is why the tech is so awesome. It's because when you have a trained auditor and they take you back to that place on the time track and you have to relive that event. Now I'm going to say something.
Brother Lukman,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to back you up on that point because in the book Dianetics, it does say that we measure, may not be in the book, could be the lectures around it, but we measure the effectiveness of the auditing by the number of tears or tissues. I don't know if you've come across that.
I have not heard that, but I know I've gone through a lot of tissue.
Yes.
Yes.
So that makes the point. I had no idea that is how the chemical is removed.
Yes.
But certainly it is backed up by the writings of Hubbard on the subject.
Okay. Praise be to Allah. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yes,
There is a saying, there's a book. There's a book. What is the name of that book? It's called I have to find it, but in the book, there's a statement that says, when you don't cry outwardly, your organs will cry inwardly.
Wow.
I think it's called, it might be called The Chemistry of Crying. I'll see if I can find it. But Sister Wendy, I'm gonna say something to you, and just write down what comes to your mind, because not only is it one person, but I believe it's two that started now when I'm saying started a fire, I'm talking about anxiety. Does,
Mhm.
does that sound like it makes sense to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Make sure you write down everything that's coming to your mind right now, because one of the things I'm going to ask you to do is get some auditing to deal specifically with what you're writing down right now as we're talking. Because as I'm saying things, aren't you going back on your time track?
Yeah.
Aren't you seeing certain people and certain things?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, and you're sitting there with Sister Peggy, so you're in great hands. Okay. So now, when you reconnect with that event, you go through that event, go back to being go again, pick up with additional data. You're returning to that event, and you're gonna get all this crying. Now, if someone had the ability to take your tears and test them, they'll see, based on what I've studied, they'll see that they're gonna have high levels of ACTH in them. And this is why anyone that has been audited and has had one of them real good snotting and crying, I mean, like the whole box of tissue, you feel so much better after that, because as your body releases the ACTH, it also begins to produce what's called endorphins, which is endogenous morphine. Your body produces a naturally occurring morphine, and that's why after a good cry, some people say, we carry around a lot of baggage. We do. We carry around a lot of emotional baggage. But now what happens is in women, in women. This is interesting because Allah says it in the Holy Quran like this. Turn a little light here. Allah says, ooh, that's a little too bright. Allah says in the Holy Quran, you ever seen the Holy Quran where Allah says chains that go up to the neck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sister Sophie, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, everyone.
How are
Happy
you?
Savior's Day. I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
Praise be to Allah. Allah says chains up to the neck. Now it's interesting because in Dianetics, there's talk about chains, right?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
what's the connection with the neck? In women, it seems like more so in women than men, when women have emotional imbalances, if there's certain things going wrong, it manifests as thyroid or parathyroid problems.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's the chain to the neck.
Ah.
Okay. So what happens is you have what's called hyperthyroidism, or you have hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism is when your thyroid produces an overabundance, and hypo is when it doesn't produce enough. And some of the things that I can remember off the top of my head is it produces anger, insomnia, restlessness. It adds to menopause. If you read through, and I try to pinpoint the specific pages in the book, the myth of normal. But one of the things, and if you can go on YouTube, pull up everything you can of Dr. Gabor Mate. His videos, his lectures are excellent. And one that we mentioned before, Deadly Emotion, Don Colbert, they have connected specific emotions to specific diseases. Now the beauty of it is, if you look at the illnesses, and in women, it's usually like this: uterine fibroids, lumps in the breast, fibromyalgia, lupus, And another thing that happens is one thing L. Ron Hubbard said was, wherever the illness is, that's where the engram is being stored.
Mm.
Now, I'm gonna make this statement. I pray I don't re-stimulate anything, but one of the reasons why women suffer from illnesses dealing with the uterus is connected to things that may have taken place during the woman's childhood. Read between the lines. You understand what I'm saying? I just don't want to go too far in it because I don't want to re-stimulate. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So wherever the illness is, L. Ron Hubbard said that's where the engram is being stored. So the illness is like a filing cabinet of where the engram is. Okay. So for men, sometimes our problems, when you deal with high blood pressure, sometimes we might suffer from colon cancer. I want to say this and I want to touch this real quick and get off of it. From the male perspective, the problem may not be colon cancer. It may be connected to something that took place with the colon. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So in other words, the illnesses that we suffer from as adults, why does he fear now that he's a grown man? He was taught to eat the wrong food when he was a child. Remember, Allah's a scientist who speaks in the language of formulae. That's an equation. So whatever illness we suffer from now, it's rooted in something that happened in our childhood. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Brother Lukman, that's like saying that the symptom is not the cause.
Wait.
Yes. Yes. I'm glad you said that. One thing, Dr. Gabor Mate has said, a lot of individuals, and I'll say this from the perspective of men,
Let's turn this.
but the same principle applies to women. From a male perspective, some men have turned to alcohol and drugs
Yeah.
because they were molested when they were young, right?
Yes, sir.
And the one thing he says the alcohol and the drugs represents a solution to a problem. The alcohol and the drugs is not the problem. It's actually a solution.
The hand sanitizers
It's a solution. Yes, ma'am, Sister Charlotte. It's a solution to the problem. The problem is what took place in our childhood. The alcohol, the drugs, or whatever we're doing or we did do was how we had to solve the problem of self-medication in order for us to deal with what took place to us in our childhood. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Can I add to that, brother?
Of course. Yes, sir. Of course.
It would seem to me that as a child, what we normally see adults do and what defines adults, particularly in some of the environments aberrated that we grow up in, we see adults consuming alcohol. So if something took place for a child as a child, the adult thing for them to do is to take alcohol, and they would have been in that situation where they were taken advantage of because they were a child. So in a way, the self-medication is to try and make adult out of self in their childhood state. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Now, Adam, how we doing over there?
Yes, sir.
I see your wheels are turning greatly over there.
They are.
Is any of this kind of hitting home for you? Because I see your there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. I see on your, I could be wrong, but I see a lot going, there's a lot of wheels turning over there.
Yeah, there is absolutely. I mean, in a lot of different ways. And so just kind of soaking it all in, and but yeah, I mean, it's got me thinking about how I can help. Well, I need a lot more auditing myself.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and just some people recently coming to me with some, young, healthy people coming to me with some like, serious diseases, problems, and thinking about that. And also you got me off on this if Masfar Muhammad and L. Ron Hubbard had contact. It's a very interesting, interesting topic. So, but yes, sir, just soaking it all in. Praise
Yes,
be to
sir.
Allah. Yes,
See,
sir.
we're in our lessons. I'm going to touch on this briefly. Then we'll finish this last horseman. In our teachings, it says, "What is the exact date of expiration of the devil's civilization?" And it says expired in 1914. Now, as I talk about the devil's civilization, to me, the devil's civilization represents the reactive mind. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, sir.
Now, the fact that it says expired in 1914, or maybe it's just a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences. But when you go up the bridge from the original thesis to what's the next one? The original thesis, the evolution of a science, Dianetics, science of survival, and you go all the way up to the creation of human ability and the new slant on life. There's 19 books and there's 14 lectures. I don't think that's a coincidence. There is a Hubbard, and I gotta find, I have it here somewhere. There is, he has the publications he makes. There's one where he talks about the 10%. The 10% of our teaching is the suppressive person that's in the text. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now in our lessons it says, I think it's question number 10. Why does Muhammad, any Muslim, murder the devil? What is the duty of each Muslim with regards to 4 devils? What reward does a Muslim receive by bringing and presenting the 4 devils at one time? It says he talks about the devil as a snake of the grafted type, right?
Correct.
Now, if we study our lessons, we know this. But now when you go into SPPTS, which is a course, I haven't taken it yet, but I've studied part of it. Isn't a suppressive person also called an antisocial personality?
That's correct.
Now, if you take those 3 letters, ASP, what does that spell?
Asp, which is a snake.
An asp is a snake, right?
Yes, sir.
The interesting concept is, if you look at the Arabic word for hypocrite, because when you study the antisocial personality, there's 12 characteristics, isn't there?
Yes, sir.
If you study one's called the ups and downs of life, I think is one of the courses, life improvement courses. There's 12 characteristics of how to identify the suppressive or an antisocial personality. When you look at the Arabic word for hypocrite in an Arabic dictionary, you almost find everything that describes the same characteristics as a suppressive personality.
Yes, sir.
So the hypocrite in Islam is the suppressive or the antisocial personality or the snake in the text. But I do have a publication. I got to find it. He does use the word 10%.
And to back you up again on that, brother, is that there's something called RJ67, which is Ron's journal, 1967, and it's a lecture, and he's doing the lecture on a ship, where he goes through the 10 or 11 families that control the globe in the negative sense. We know overall it's a 24 scientists, but he talks about basically the enemies of man, in that particular lecture. So if anyone is in the org, ask for it. RJ67, which stands for Ron's Journal 67. It's almost like looking at Minister Farrakhan's discussion on where you spoke about the 25 Jewish intellectuals. But I think it's still under the time and what must be done. But there was a particular time he was dealing with it. I apologize, I don't have the exactitude of it, but it's talking about really the suppressive personalities on the planet. So yeah, that is just something that I wanted to add on to the build tonight.
No, thank you, Brother Tawanda. It's always appreciated. And let me give a shout out to our brother David. I sound like Brother David. Good to have you. Have another scientist on the meeting with us. This brother is heavy in quantum physics, and this brother just he has my brain spinning sometimes. You with us, Brother David? Maybe you can.
Yes, I'm here. I'm listening while
Praise be to
shopping
God.
and getting prepared to break fast.
Yeah, I understand. So let me end this so everyone can break their fast. So last thing. So we've gone down white horse, red horse, black horse. We've gone down the tone scale, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, in our teaching, it says after spiritual death, the spiritual death leads to what? Physical death, right?
An untimely physical death.
Untimely physical death. Now we come to the pale horse. So now, if all these other horses are equivalent to levels on the tone scale, then the pale horse would be bringing us down to 0.5 to 0, wouldn't it?
Flat line, yes, sir.
Okay. Pale horse, it says, and his name that sat on him was death, and hell followed with him. Now watch this. I'm gonna try to make this real quick. The name that sat on him was death, and hell followed with him. When a person becomes severely aberrated, is it the person that's there, or are they stuck in a valence? Is there another person that's present? Huh?
Surveillance.
Okay. And then when it says, and hell followed him. Now, don't they teach in the text that when you have mistakes and have accidents, because there's a suppressive close by?
That's correct.
Okay. So could we say that a suppressive is sitting on that person?
Yes, sir.
So the
Definitely.
suppressive and the death is the same thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then it says, and power was given on him over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and the beasts of the earth. Now, could that kind of describe what's taking place with someone who's at 0.5 down to 0.0?
Yes, sir.
They're at a point
Yes,
where
sir.
they are at such a condensed level that all of their aberrations are turning inward on them.
Yes, sir.
Is that from fear? Could fear cause that to happen?
Say again?
Could fear cause that to happen?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Most definitely. Most definitely. Most definitely.
Also, Brother Lukman.
Go ahead.
Also, a person is more susceptible to germs and disease at a certain tone. So not only are they susceptible to germs and disease, and they succumb to it, but also they start making accidents themselves that will bring about death. So it's almost like death is now the goal.
And death is the rider, and hell follows. But now look at disease. Disease is taking place because what? The immune system has been compromised, hasn't it?
Yes, sir.
And the immune system has been compromised. Why? Because the ACTH has accumulated and has not been taken out, has not been eliminated. So the more we're suppressed from our environment, the more we're invalidated, the more we have enforced ARC or ARC breaks, the more ACTH increases, the more it causes the immune system to decrease, which follows along with what you just said, a person is more susceptible to disease. So what we're seeing in the media right now, we're seeing individuals that are being ridden by different types of horsemen.
Yes. Yes.
So we're seeing the four horse. See, we expect to look in the sky and see four dudes riding on four horses coming out the sky. Now, that don't even make no damn sense, does it?
No.
You know, we think, you know, fire and brimstone, and we look up, and there's gonna be four guys on four horses, and then them galloping out the sky. No, four horsemen. Have we been told that the battle of the sky is representing what's taking place in the mind?
Okay.
If the battle in the sky is taking place in the mind, then my question would be, where would the four horsemen appear?
In the mind.
In the mind. So can we say that the four horsemen of the apocalypse, could we say that this could possibly represent four devils that we have to kill?
100%.
Could the four horsemen represent four valences or four people?
Yes.
Or four flows?
Four flows.
That did something to us in our childhood?
Uh-huh.
Those four horsemen could be four individuals, right?
Yeah.
It's just something to think about. Now we can make the scriptures real. Because I don't think it's a coincidence that it comes in Revelation 6 and you find all four horsemen in verses 1 through 8, and we have 8 dynamics. And you have 8 that uphold the throne in the Holy Quran. But I'm thinking now that these four horsemen represent four people that are connected to our aberration based on our past. And if we can find these four devils and then bring and present those four devils, wouldn't we get a button to wear on the lapel of our coat? And what did Brother Abdul Malik Saeed say? Well, I don't think you weren't there, but when he was in Flag last year, the way he explained the button that was on the lapel of the coat is, if you look at the word button, if you clear the word, it means an emotional, it's a painful emotional trigger that a person can manipulate. That's one of the definitions for a button. But if the button is on the lapel of your coat, that means all your buttons have been exposed and no one can push your buttons anymore.
Right.
But we have to bring and present. See, right now we're talking in a Zoom meeting. We all here, we have brought our devils, but we haven't presented them.
Yeah.
But when we go through auditing and you get on those cans, you bring and you present, don't you?
Yeah.
If you've been on the cans, you have presented some devils, right?
Yes, you have.
Okay. So that's just a quick synopsis based on a thought. Like I said, brothers and sisters, someday a thought pops in my head. I write the thought down. That becomes my assignment for the day, and I study it. And then when it makes sense, I say, okay, well, that's not just meant for me. I have to share it with the other believers because we all have to benefit from the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad through his student, his top student, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as well as the tech given to us by Brother L. Ron Hubbard. And this is why we present this in this platform. And this is why I think by Allah's grace that we have reached so many individuals on the planet. Right now we are in, Sister Sophie, she's down in Bermuda. Brother Tawan is over the United Kingdom. There's people viewing us in Indonesia, India. And there's a little small group in Ireland now.
Wow.
There's a small little group in Ireland now. So the point that I try to do, we all have to find our purpose. And my purpose is, by Allah's grace, I try to build bridges between ideologies, religions, concepts, and thoughts, so we can just grow up and stop being spiritual children. Minister Farrakhan said it like this, and this is where we'll close it out. When you're a child, you argue. Well, my mommy says 5 + 1 is 6. Well, my mommy says that 4 + 2 is 6. Well, mine says that 3 + 3 is 6. You're all saying the same thing.
Right.
So the Buddhists, if we study the Buddhists and we study the Baha'i, the Baha'i faith that was founded by a prophet by the name of Baha'u'llah, and if we study the Sikh faith, which was it wasn't founded by Guru Gobind Singh. He was one of the students, one of what's called the 10 gurus. But Guru Nanak was the one who founded the Sikh faith. I believe that was back in the 16th century. And if you go back to Zoroastrianism and you study the scriptures of Zoroastrianism, and if you study the Metuneta of the religion, the Kemetic spirituality systems of ancient Kemet, if we take the time to really read the Bhagavad Gita and the Tao Te Ching and the I Ching, we will see that all of these books are talking about the same thing, just using different language and symbolism. And if we put our minds to the study, we can communicate spiritual principles to anyone on the planet. And each one of us can maintain our own religious beliefs, and we can still have ARC with the rest of humanity. It's a beautiful concept.
Totally, totally.
Go ahead, Brother Tawanda.
Brother Lukman, I just wanted to thank you, again, because even today's title, I wasn't here through the entirety, so I may be saying something that was said already. But when you look at revelation in the context of a session, because that's what you're doing in session, you are bringing revelation about what it is that has caused you aberration and the removing of that. I just really wanted to just lift that point that, just the subject of it being from the book of Revelation is literally saying to me, session. That's all.
So here's what I got to do now, brother. For our next set, I'm gonna send this to you as soon as I get done. I'm gonna send it out in the email, so all of us are gonna get this. I want to clear that word revelation and see if it has a connection with the text. Clear in Arabic.
Okay.
I'm gonna clear it in Arabic and see where it takes, and then I'm gonna send out the email, and then that might become the topic of a Zoom meeting in the future. Because one of my goals is I want to go deeper in the book of Revelation and see if these beasts and demons and coming out of the pit, what if that pit represents the reactive mind and the demons represent the valences from the past? And I want to look at Revelations from as a demo kit. And we'll see where it takes us.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the time right now is 8:10. I'll open the floor for one last round of questions, comments, and then we will wrap it up. Who is iPhone? iPhone, could you please?
Brother Roderick, how are you, sir?
Roderick.
Brother
Roderick, how are you, brother?
Good. I'm good, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Glad to have you, soldier.
Yes, sir.
All right. Sister Heidi.
Assalamu alaikum. Happy Savior's Day.
Savior's Day.
Alaikum salam, sister. Happy Savior's Day.
So I just wanted to kind of just back up or bear witness to what you're saying, how a lot of the stuff that's out here dealing with therapy, that it seems as though they were listening to Brother Ron L. Hubbard simply because he said something in a lecture, in the 1950s lecture. I think it was the November one. And since I'm working on being an auditor, I was listening to those lectures. And he said that a lot of people who filled up the foundation were therapists. And they had memberships, and they would go and take all his information and, do whatever they want. He was like, well, I can't really stop you, but you're going to go do what you want, So we know when we see it, and it's everywhere, and they're disguising it.
Of course. They changed the language.
That's what I remember him saying. And I just laughed because he's so right, because everybody's talking about trauma. But one of the main things is, well, you might have had trauma from a childhood. And that's one of the main things people say, well, you might have had trauma from a childhood. And so let's talk about it. And it's just, okay. But except now they're adding drugs to it. But he was, definitely against it.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's what I just wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Heidi. Sister Wendy, can you hear me? They might be breaking that fast, Sister Wendy and Sister Peggy.
There we are. Hold on.
Here we are. Yes, sir.
So, Sister Wendy, did anything that was said trigger some thoughts, or did it make sense in your own specific situation? Did things come to light that made sense?
Yes, that's exactly why I'm still over here just going like, wow. Talking with Sister Peggy.
Okay.
Yes. But I do have one question.
Okay.
Like, I know that I have I've trained myself where I have turned emotions off. Like you mentioned tears.
Mhm.
And I said, well, no wonder I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with if tears is natural medicine, because I haven't had a good cry in a long, long, long time. And I believe, and I don't know, auditing does that where you dig in and you pull things up that you just buried away. Because there's a lot that I've, buried deep. Had to be able to get through to the next day, But when you were talking to me, I just kept remembering being handcuffed while I was in labor with my oldest son.
Wow.
And I was in labor, and I was shackled. My hands were behind my back, and I remember each time as you were talking, I was thinking like, wow, each time the pain would hit me, I couldn't do anything because I was strapped, and then I was pushed into this small car, like a police van to go to the hospital. And then handcuffed to the bed. The whole process was like akin to my ancestors, I felt like. Um, and I think like it was only by the grace of Allah that I was able to come through that. And then I remember my mother would always just stare deeply into my eyes and just say how grateful she was that I came out alive. And I would look at her and like, what are you talking about? Like, what are, and I just did not understand the seriousness of what I had gone through, but the body keeps count. And and so I'm learning that now that I am in my older age, and I it's just it has me speechless over here. Yeah.
Okay. So let me say this to you, and for some reason, sometimes this happens, and I don't know. Sometimes I might be right, sometimes I might be wrong. So this is specifically for you, and this is specifically for Adam, because I'm not trying to be like, call me now. I'm not trying to say I'm psychic. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
No.
sometimes I get a feeling, but for you, Sister Wendy, I'm gonna say this. Some of us have gone through certain types of hell. And the reason why we've gone through them is because one, Allah knew we were strong enough to go through it. And that was the cross that we had to carry, because there's going to be a whole lot of other people we can help because we've been to hell and we've been back. A drug addict may not be able to be helped by someone who just went to school to learn about drug addiction. Someone who's a drug addict has to be counseled by someone who's been to hell and had to deal with that dragon. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm gonna say this, Sister Wendy, there's a mission that you have. I believe there's a reason why you're going through the auditing. And I believe that you had to go through hell so it would give you the strength to complete what you have to complete so you can help other people. That's number one. Number two, some of us can't cry because we have this circuit in our mind. Demon circuit in Scientology, Dianetics, is the same as the whispering of the slinking devil in Surah 114. Some of us were beat, and then while we were getting beat, we were told, stop crying before I give you something to cry about. So excuse my language, as someone was whooping our ass, they were telling us, stop crying while I give you something to cry about. So while we're being beat, the engram is being laid in with the circuit to not cry. And that's why most of us, even as men, we have a hard time crying, because when our father was tearing that behind up, some of us were told, stop crying before I give you something to cry about. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You make them cry.
Okay. Now, Adam, for some reason, there's a reason why you're here tonight.
Yes, sir.
And I get the feeling that you have your own hell that you've already been through. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. What you just described,
Okay.
jails and drug addiction and alcoholism and
Okay.
so forth. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
It's sometimes it's just spirit feels spirit. So there's a reason why you survived. And unfortunately, and I pray I'm wrong, but someone close to you didn't make it, did they?
So I'm just eating about the cup.
Um, hmm, um, yeah, I mean, maybe a lot of people.
Okay.
But yeah, no. Uh, yeah, my uncle is first is who I'm thinking about, but yeah.
Okay. So the reason why I think you're here and the reason why you're going through the tech is yet it's the same thing. You had to go through hell so you can show other people how to get the hell out of hell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a coincidence you're here. I don't think it's a coincidence that you're studying the teachings of Most High Elijah Muhammad and you're studying the teachings of L. Ron Hubbard.
Yes, sir.
So you have a job that you have to do, but you had to suffer. And all I want to say to you now is your suffering was designed to give you purpose with regards to what you're doing now. So you didn't go through the hell you went through because you're a bad person. Sometimes we have to go through hell to prepare us for what our mission really is.
Yes, sir.
All right. So family, I know it's time to break that fast. Some of y'all are breaking it. That's why you're not on camera, and that's all right. If anyone has any questions, anything, any topics you like for us to cover in the future, please send me an email. I'm gonna try to keep going through the book one and connecting, going back through it again, chapter by chapter, and reconnect it with, whatever it is that we get inspired to. I pray Allah. Thank you, Sister Heidi. I'm thankful to Allah. Yeah, this is part of my purpose in life. This is what I enjoy doing. Feel free to reach out, send me a text message. You can give me a call. I'm retired. I have nothing but time on my hands right now. I'm thankful. But you gotta work fast because if I start working for school,
I'm putting it in the chat.
what's up?
Brother Muhammad, I was telling Sister Peggy that I'm going to put my email address and information in the chat for you so that I
Okay.
can get on that list.
I'll get you on the list. That way, as soon as the emails go out, you'll be getting them firsthand. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. I really, really have enjoyed this. I'm so glad that she told me we were just sitting here and she said, yeah, and she's right. Thank you, Sister Peggy.
Praise be to Allah.
All praises to Allah, yes.
Right. So you have my email. You have my, if you need my number, I can get the number to you. Call me anytime, text me. I try to make myself available throughout the day. I will assist anyone going through the tech. This is just my purpose in life. This is what I'm doing. So with that being said and done, let us go ahead and close out in prayer. Attention prayer. Seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. In the name of Allah, the beneficent and merciful. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the beneficent and most merciful. Master the day of judgment in which we now live, the alone that we serve, and aid that we seek. Please, Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after they have heard thy teaching. Ameen.
Amen. Amen.
All right, family. May Allah continue to bless us. I look forward to seeing everyone again, God willing, on the 15th. Is it the 15th? Yes, ma'am. Yes, the 15th.
Yes.
We'll
Yes,
see
sir.
we'll see what topic Allah has in store for us on the 15th. May Allah continue to bless us. Keep studying.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Assalamu
Yes,
alaikum,
sir.
family.
Walaikum salam.
Allahu Akbar.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan
Ramadan
Kareem.
Kareem.